Okay, so look, in almost anything that we do, it's always about learning. And so when we're starting something new, we're running a business, we're trying to reach a high level of growth, we're trying to overcome anxiety, if there's some habit we're trying to unlearn or some new habit we're trying to learn, if there's a skill we want to get better at, it's all about learning. So the most important skill to your success and my success and anyone's success is learning. Because if we can learn faster, if we can learn smarter, then we spend less time making mistakes and we get to our outcome much faster as well. And so it really is about getting into action, because that's where the real learning happens. It's not from reading a book. It's not from attending a program or a course or listening to someone speak. It's about putting what you know into action and getting feedback as to, did it get the result you're expecting? Yes, no. Either way, there's feedback there, and then you can refine your process. And so one of the fastest ways, the most optimized ways of learning is principle-based learning. And that is basically saying that if you learn the principles, it means you don't get caught in the detail too much. So you can spend years and years and years and years and years of learning all about hypnotherapy and psychology, or what you can do is pull back and learn the principles first, get a level of mastery and competency around the principles, and then you kind of go, okay, well, I don't need to spend so much time in the detail anymore because I understand the principles of it. I think in diets and in what we eat, there's a thing called macros. So you have your fats, you have your proteins, and you have your carbs. I'm pretty sure that's about all. So if you understand the principle of macros and you track your macros, then you don't have to get so caught up in the detail of the individual thing that you might be eating. And so this is just this concept of principle-based learning. If you learn the principles, then you can use those as a guide for future action. And that's really what I try to do when I teach people anything, is how do I start with principles? And why do I do that? It's because when I've been learning myself, I've been taught the other way, and most of us have been taught the other way through schooling, and we just get taught the stuff. You know, oh, sit down, and today we're going to learn about Napoleon and you know, the French Revolution. I think it was at the same time. I don't know. But you know, or the Civil War in the US, or you know, you learn stuff. Now sit down, we're going to learn trigonometry now. Just learn stuff. You don't learn the principle. First of all, what's the principle of learning? Look, admittedly, this is not what the frame of today's call is about, but it is about, you know, really understanding that anytime you learn something, you want to stop and go, hang on, am I learning the principles first, or am I getting caught in the detail too soon? Now, the detail is the, I guess, the fancy name for something, whether it's, you know, hey, I've got this really cool, you know, name for this new system. It's called, you know, quantum upside down rainbow release. And you go, wow, that sounds amazing. Well, you know, and in the detail, that's what sort of has that wow factor to it. But from a principle perspective, maybe it's just uses what 30 other processors use out there. And so when you can step above and just focus on the principles, it gives you this confidence and certainty that I've got this, because some people get caught up in the detail too soon. And I'm saying this for a reason, because anytime you get overwhelmed, you are overwhelmed because you are focused on the detail. Oh, but then I've got 500 things to get done. Don't worry about the 500 things. From a principle perspective, what's the most important thing you need to get done? All of a sudden you simplify it down. There's only one thing you can get done right now. What is that most important thing you need to get done? And so this is why principle-based learning, the more you can really recondition your mindset to go, how do I keep myself from a principle-based frame of mind? How do I look at my scripts? How do I look at my business? How do I look at my offer from a principle perspective first? What do I need in order to create my offer? What do I need to create my scripts? What do I need to create my business? Do I have the roadmap not the specific turns, not the street name, the street number that I need to go past 500 trees before I turn right, none of that stuff. Do I have, from a principle perspective, an understanding of, okay, where am I headed? And then, what direction I need to go in? Like from that perspective, like, am I going north or south right now? Which direction do I need to go in, or east or west? Because if you don't get that part right, it doesn't matter about all the other detail. Because those principles act like a compass and they guide your action and your execution. And again, that's why today we are going to talk about the 6 principles to creating your own scripts. One, this is not the time and place to really do a deep dive on scripts. But I don't also think everyone needs to do that. It's nice to do that. It is nice to do a deep dive once you understand the principles. But if you don't understand the principles and you do a deep dive, you might come out and still not understand the principles, in which case you kind of like, I'm not sure I even remember what I learned, because there might be 200 detailed recommendations and language patterns and intonation patterns and all these different things to kind of put into it. And it's too much to remember. Can you remember 6? Can you write down 6? Hopefully. If not, well, then start with 3. You can always narrow it down to what are the 3 most important. Okay, if 3 is too much, what are the 2 most important? If you had to prune off one of them, what's the 2 most important? And that's the power of principle-based learning, is continually condensing it down to find what are the core ingredients. What's the difference that makes the difference? So let's have a look at the 6 principles to create your own scripts. So these are guides to follow. They're not rules, but they're guides. And this is how I use these principles to create my own scripts. So I start off by thinking, okay, what's a script I want to create? So I've been creating a script over the last few days. When I say the last few days, it's like a 30-minute pocket here, 15-minute pocket of time here. I haven't really sat down and done serious deep work on it because it's not my big ticket tasks that I'm working on. But I will fit it in because I know the compound effect that if I do 15 minutes a day, it'll get done over time. So what are the 2 to 3 symptoms or experiences that typify that problem? So I think about, okay, here's the problem I want to help someone with. How do people know they have that problem? What are the symptoms? What's the experience that they go through when they have that problem? And I'm going to write out the 2 or 3 most important symptoms or experiences or impactful symptoms or experiences that they have, because that tells me it kind of shows me how much I know about this problem. And so, okay, I kind of know this now. Like I know that there's this sort of range of experiences that people can have that's caused by that. What that informs me of is, okay, I might need to address those ranges of experiences in this script that I'm about to create. Next step is, what is actually going on medically or biologically to create this problem? It may not be, and you could probably also put in there psychologically, because it may not be a biologically, created problem. I mean, whether someone feels like they can commit to themselves and they can stand by their word, usually there's no biological or medical reason for that for or against that. It's more of a psychological thing. But if you're working with pain or you're working with some sort of condition that people have, usually there will be some sort of medical evidence behind it or some biological cause for it. And again, why do you want to know about that? Because you can bring some of that detail. I'm a big advocate of, when you create a script, can you also create it in a medically accurate way or a biologically accurate way? It kind of elevates the authority and the credibility of your script, as opposed to those more generic ones, which is, sit back, relax, close your eyes and imagine a healing light, wash over your entire body, healing your body all over. And now you feel fully healed and vital and revitalized, ready to go. There's nothing wrong with those scripts, nothing wrong with them, but they're very easy to create. And there are some other people out there that are looking for a little bit more of the detail, a little bit more like the cellular work, and there's something that's a bit more targeted and not so generic and broad, sort of broadly applied. So it just, again, these are guides, they're not rules, but they help you go, okay, I'm now informed and I can bring that in, or I can leave it out. I can keep it generic, or I can bring some medical detail to it, some biological detail to it. How can I create some suggestions to help this person improve or resolve this problem? And so then you just create a whole bunch of suggestions. Now, I've got the benefit of having created HypnoLab. And so, sometimes I'll go to HypnoLab and I'll just quickly grab the suggestion model that's there. And it has like about 15 or so, maybe 12 prompts for suggestions. And I pull that out. And I'm like, great, I'll just punch out a whole bunch of suggestions. I now have 12 suggestions. Great, I'm done. Load that up, use that. How can I use some of the medically and biologically accurate information to really address the cellular healing and change? We've kind of already spoken about that. How can I create a metaphor, such as a device? So it could be like the control panel type of approach. A location. A location could be like a waterfall. You're walking through a waterfall. That could be a sort of a device or a metaphoric transformation that can happen as you walk through that. Another one is walking into a healing pool of water. That could be another one. So it doesn't always have to be water, of course. It could be, a device would be a balloon. We've used a balloon before, where you fill up a balloon with certain emotions or feelings or beliefs that you don't want, and they can choose whatever color they want for it, and eventually when they're ready, they let it go and it disappears and it kind of removes it from them. It could be an action that they take. They could, another one I've used is where they've taken a jacket off, and that jacket represents something, and so there's some sort of action that's there. So all of these can be metaphors. Now they're a little bit more active metaphors, where you're doing something, you're getting them to take it off, you're getting them to let it go, you're getting them to walk through something. They're a bit more kind of in-person or I guess associated metaphors. Then you have disassociated metaphors. Disassociated metaphors would be when you are told a story about 5 trees that were kept on getting cut down, and they weren't growing very well, and the trees were kind of injured from being cut down before they even had leaves growing. And then a farmer came around and said, maybe you just need to relax a little bit more and just let the trees do their thing. And all of a sudden those 5 trees started growing stronger and stronger, and those injuries healed, and they all of a sudden become really strong, healthy trees that were able to protect the soil and the natural environment around them. And so that would just be like a quick little metaphor for improving nail growth if someone bites nails, just off the top of my head. So something like that could be a more indirect, dissociated metaphor. But again, that's, I know some people are like, whoa, hang on, Shane, you make it look easier. I've kind of, my head's twisted into a pretzel right now just by you talking about metaphors. Start with the easy ones. I didn't start by going, I'm going to come up with a metaphor off the top of my head about it's dissociated and really creative. You start with the easy ones. You build up that competency. And again, this is a guide, not a rule. Not every hypnosis script needs to have a metaphor in it. But some of the easy ones are, like the devices, a control panel, a whiteboard, wiping away the unwanted things, putting things into a balloon and letting them go, watching things wash past you on a river, and the leaves represent the things that are washing by, going from one side of a bridge to another side of a bridge. The old way is one side, the new way is the other side. So there's all these different styles that if you can, and by the way, if you get a little bit lost, you're like, hang on, Shane, I'm trying to write notes. If you're a member of HypnoLab, and even if you're not a member of HypnoLab, you can go to hypnolab.ai. All of this is kind of contained within that. But I'm not just trying to plug HypnoLab here. What I'm also sharing with you is how to actually build your own scripts. Because sometimes maybe you not have access to the internet, you want to create it, or maybe you're not a member of HypnoLab, you don't like it for whatever reason. I still want to empower you to understand the principles of how to create your own hypnosis scripts, and do so with confidence, and recognize that, confidence also comes from practice. That you may not feel confident to begin with, but as long as you understand the principles and you start, that is how you get confident. My first few scripts were crap. They sucked, but I've now been writing them for 13 years. And so that's why they're easy for me. I can do them, quite easily, and now have created many other startups as a result of it. So I encourage you that it is worth pursuing. It is worth mastering. It's just creative writing. It's creative writing that allows you to really understand hypnotic principles and the power of language, not just for scripts, but when speaking to people, when telling your kids or grandchildren or family friends bedtime stories. I'm not sure whether you sit there and tell your family friends bedtime stories, but little kids, when they're having bedtime stories, to understand metaphors just empowers you to be able to empower those children in a way that most other people can't do. So, and then finally, create a future pacing section that encourages the client to see themselves in the future, behaving and feeling in this new empowered way. And that's the mental rehearsal component of it. And so you keep it all really positive. You say, there you are, and you're now seeing yourself doing this positive thing. And you look around and you see all the things you normally see, and you hear those sounds that you would normally hear as you're doing this positive thing. When I say positive thing, you'd insert the detail of whatever your topic is. And then talk about, and as you're doing this thing, you know that you have taken the steps necessary to create this change for yourself. And then I move into the feeling part. And you feel absolutely amazing, and that you have led yourself in such a powerful way. And you know this is only going to continue for the rest of your life, and this is going to lead to so many new and amazing opportunities in your relationship, in your wealth, in your business, and have you feeling totally fulfilled in so many different ways. Again, I'm just layer it on like, this is the most amazing thing you have ever done. This is going to impact your life in so many powerful, positive ways. I'm trying to create a super intense, positive state, because that is what our brain craves. And if I can create that state through my script for my client, their brain is now honed in on becoming this happy state, seeking missile that, probably missile is not the right word, but seeking organ, brain's an organ, that is going to help them achieve that outcome. That's why mental rehearsal works. Mental rehearsal works when it has the layer on top of feeling good, positive feelings. That's our role in creating a script. That's our role as a hypnotherapist. That's our role in whatever the title is, a specialist, is to not only have our clients follow our language, but to have them in a state where their brain starts going, I want more of this. Give me more of this. This new state of feeling is better than those old ways of being. That's really what we do. And so as a quick recap, what I do to summarize is I find out what are 2 or 3 symptoms and experiences that are similar, that are kind of related to this problem. What's the medical or biological reason potentially that causes this? I then kind of create a few suggestions. Okay, what are some suggestions that I'll create? So again, I'm not really getting into the detail yet. This is just setting me up for it. Okay, then can I use some of that medical or biological information to kind of, really hone in on some cellular change or some cellular healing that's going on? And then what's a metaphor? What's a quick metaphor I'm going to come up with? If I can't think of anything, my go-to would be like the whiteboard, the balloon, the control panel, crossing the bridge, one of those ones. And then what's my future pace going to be? What's the outcome? What does my client really want from this? Or what does someone's going to use this script really want? And then I create something around that, trying to make it as emotionally intense as possible within the frame of time that I've got. If I'm creating a rapid script, well, I can't spend too much time elaborating out on that. But if I'm creating a 45-minute session for someone, maybe it's a single client I'm working with, well, I can, really play with it in a lot, and take them in different directions around that. So that's the 6 principles to creating your own scripts. Was that useful? Yes? No? Any questions so far? Before I move on, we're going to move on to a different topic.